Folks, be careful for some desperate sellers. I'll get into that, and then the latest home prices and insights for condos across the GTA for week ending January 24th, 2024. Those of you that recently subscribed to this channel, thank you for that. Those of you that watch every week and you enjoy the content, consider subscribing. So, I was speaking with somebody recently, and they told me what happened to them. What it was they were looking to buy a condo as an investment. And they were looking for a while. And this one condo caught this buyer's eye. Now, the condo had been in the market for about 2 months. And when they're reading the features, the description, part of the description it read, tenant is paying $4,000 a month rent and is willing to stay. So the person I was speaking with, the buyer, reads this, does their math, and figures, hey, you know, with my down payment, with the current rate, with my monthly mortgage, does all the math, you know, expenses, with $4,000 coming in every month, I could just almost break even with that condo. So they go see it, they like it, they decide to put an offer, and they buy it. Part of what was organized between the buyer and seller, that sometime after the agreement is firm and closing date, sometime in between there, that a new lease would be drawn up with the tenant and the deposit would be transferred from the seller to the buyer, the last month's deposit. Everything seemed okay and normal. However, shortly after the deal is firm, the buyer receives a message from the seller side saying, tenant has decided to leave and has given their notice, and they will be leaving whatever time that was. And so the buyer's thinking, no, that's unfortunate. Now we've got to find a new tenant. And this is now when the buyer, even though they've not closed yet, they start kind of, the buyer and the buyer's agent start looking around to figure out, okay, well, what's the rental rate right now? Maybe we can get more. And they find out that the actual rental rate for that type of apartment, that type of condo in that building, is not $4,000 a month. It's in the neighborhood of $3,100, $3,200. So it's $700, $800, $900 less. And it's like, wow, that's a big blow for this buyer. Now remember, at $4,000 a month, their math had them almost breaking even. And they thought, yeah, for $100 or $200 a month, I can carry it, no problem. But now, it's not going to be $100 or $200 a month. They're going to be short $1,000 or $1,100 a month probably when all is said and done. And you got to wonder what happened. Why would this tenant be paying so much more than what the current rental rate is? Turns out on one of the buyer visits, they met the tenant there, and in discussion and just, you know, being friendly, they find out that that tenant is actually related to the seller, and the tenant is most likely, allegedly, not actually paying $4,000 a month, and allegedly that $4,000 a month was a total fabrication, a made-up number. And so now the buyer is really, really stuck. Folks, some sellers will straight out, flat out lie about features, measurements, numbers to get the sale that they're after. The onus really is on the buyer to verify and check. If a number is so important to you that it could affect a reason you buy or not buy that property, if a number is so important to you, as a buyer, you should check it, verify it, make sure it's true. Do your own research. Could be a room measurement, square footage in condos. sellers lie, listing agents lie so many times. Is the balcony included or not? And square footage is an important factor. Rent that is being collected, that's a huge factor in your math of whether you're going to break even or not. There's all sorts of numbers in the purchasing that can make a difference whether you buy or not. Verify it for yourself. Do not rely on and believe everything that is being told from you by the selling side. I've seen this many times before, although this is a recent conversation I've had. I've experienced it many times. It happens a lot. Just because it's written in the MLS doesn't mean it's true. If you think this video can help somebody you know, please pass it along. If you get value from what we're talking about, subscribe. If you want to talk with me about your real estate situation, up here there's a link to my calendar. Below there's a link to my calendar. Click on that, book a time that's convenient for you, and we'll talk about whatever's on your mind. Now, let's get into the condo numbers. Folks, the market is shifting. There's more activity, more action out there, but that is very much a freehold situation. Let's see what's happening with condos. Here's a quick summary. Now, this is all home types. This is just for the city of Toronto. We've got condos down here, and then the freehold properties, towns, semis, and detached. And the reason I put this up here in a show that's about condos is just to show the difference between average sold price for week ending January 24th for condo apartments versus the detached average sold price, $690 for condos, $1.573 million for detached. It's an $833,000 difference in average sold price. But let's look at condos because this show's about condos. So we got Peel condos at 607, York Region condos, average sold price 664, and then Toronto 690. Normally, this is the order. Toronto's the highest, then York Region and Peel. It changes sometimes, but normally speaking, on average, that's the difference in prices. So we're going to start off with City of Toronto. This chart is broken down by week for a whole year. For week ending January 24th, 176 condos were sold. Sales are on the increase. 14 of those condos were sold at $1 million or more. That is also increasing over the previous few weeks. And average sold price, $690,000, which is up over the last couple of weeks. Now, do we expect right now prices, sales to increase? Well, yes, if we're headed, I mean, I know we're a long ways from spring, but once we come out of the holiday season, the Christmas and New Year's, usually we see an uptick in all these factors. It's seasonal, it happens almost every year or every year. Sometimes it doesn't start till February, March, but it's starting in January right now. And we saw this last year. Sales go up. Prices didn't really go up, but then they started to go up. And last year, since June, so we'll say after spring, there's a steady decline in volume and a steady decline in prices. That's what we saw last year. But out of the gate in the new year, up, and we'll say up. Sales and prices were going up. And that's what, it's only just a few weeks. It's our third full week of the new year. That's what we're starting to see with condos. Compared to last year, $690,000 is 6% lower than where the average sold price was a year ago. The median price, $633,000, is 1% higher than where we were this time last year. Sales, compared to last year, the oranges this year, blue, those are last year's sales. We are exceeding what we were selling last year. And of the 70 or 176 that sold, 21% sold at list price or more. Listings, I put a question mark because listings have actually started to decline. And I am a little shocked about that. In most other markets, listings are increasing with each week. but not for condos for the City of Toronto. Listings have been decreasing since, I guess, the first full week of the year, and active listings is coming down also. So listings are decreasing. The amount of properties available for sale are decreasing, but we're buying more condos. Sales are increasing. Months of inventory is coming down. With months of inventory coming down, there's fewer choices. Buyers are a bit more active. Average price starting to creep up. That's for the whole City of Toronto as one big marketplace. Let's look a little bit closer to different marketplaces. I've got the City of Toronto broken down into 9 sections, and we said for all of Toronto, 3.6 is the months of inventory. Well, you can see some areas are more competitive than other areas. Scarborough is 3.1 months of inventory. East York Riverdale, 3.3 months of inventory. Downtown, where the lion's share of the sales happened for condos, 4.6 months of inventory. It's higher than the overall average. Now, in comparison, when we look at the freehold market, months of inventory is lower. But when I break it down like this, you'll have some areas much higher and other areas much lower than the overall average. But when it comes to condos, we're not far off. Like the lows, we got 3.6 as the average. The low we have here, 2.9. So yeah, it's off, but not so far off from the 3.6. And the high, 4.6. Is there another one that's higher? No. So we go from 2.9 to 4.6. It's not a huge range. The freehold, you'll see a much larger range when it comes to months of inventory. So that's just to me, that's an interesting factor when we're looking at condos. This is now York Region. Sales are not increasing for York Region. They're kind of flat. 34 detached property, 34 condos were sold in York Region. 2 of those were at $1 million or more. Average sold price also kind of flat over the last few weeks, sitting at $664,000. 664 is 2% higher than where we were this time a year ago. The median price of $615 is 8% lower than where we were this time a year ago. So average price about the same, actually 2% higher. Median, the middle number, is actually much lower than it was before. Sales, 34 were sold, 27% sold at list price or more. Compared to last year though, sales are much higher than what we were selling at this time last year in York Region. Listings, we see it's not much, but listings are actually trending down. I'm surprised. I just figured a lot more condos, especially a high percentage of condos are investment properties. I would have expected with the carrying costs these days, more condos coming onto the market. And months of inventory, down a little bit, sitting at 3.0 months of inventory. So we've done City of Toronto, York Region. Let's see what's happening with Peel condos. Peel Region, 38 condos were sold. 1 of those was at $1 million or more. Average sold price, $607,000. 607 is 5% higher than a year ago at this time. The median price is 8% higher. Median price is $592,000. 38 were sold, 21% were at list price or more. Listings also coming down in Peel Region, not by a lot, but they're trending down. And months of inventory way down, now sitting at 2.8. We went from 4.2 down to 2.8 months of inventory. Average days on market dropped down to 28. Here's a quick summary. I would say pretty much we're either at the border or sitting in a balanced market when it comes to condos across the GTA. But some buildings are more favorable than other buildings. So use this as information to kind of generally understand the state of the condo market. But that building that you're looking to sell in or you're looking to buy in, that's really going to determine Are you in a balanced market? Are you in a seller's market? Are you in a buyer's market? It's what's happening in that environment. It's its own world. Really focus on understanding the numbers before you make a decision. Thanks for watching. Have a great day.